suing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, for the cost of a golden retriever puppy.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2188, Slaniger versus Hoovener.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Saniker, is this your boyfriend?
Hi, yes. This is my boyfriend and the father of our 2-year-old child.
Okay, you could stand up with her. In addition to a 2-year-old child, you also had 2 dogs. Where were you living at the time of this incident?
So we were living in our house.
In your house where?
In Redford, Michigan.
Do you own the house or rent it?
We rent it.
Are you still living there?
Yes, we are.
Do you work?
No,
You're not, the answer is no.
I'm a writer. I'm also 2 months pregnant, too, so.
The question is, do you work and make a living?
Yes.
At what?
Writing.
Okay. Who do you write for?
Myself, self-publishing.
Well, how much money did you make last year self-publishing?
0.
0.
Yeah.
So the answer is, you don't work and you don't make any money. And what about you, boyfriend?
I currently, at the moment, am a custodian for the Hills School District.
Okay, and how much do you earn?
I earn $16.50 an hour.
And what's your rent?
It's $14.45.
Who pays it? There's no question you don't.
He does.
I do.
Impossible. Not at $16 an hour.
Our brother currently lives with
What?
my brother lives with us as well, so we have a roommate. That's how we pay for it.
And he pays some of the rent?
Yes.
Is your rent current?
Yes.
And you have a car.
I do.
So you have car and insurance. You have a car, well, somehow you're very economical. Now, you had 2 dogs. You had financial hardship, according to your complaint, and you could no longer take care of the dogs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of dogs were they?
Our 1-year-old dog named Courage, he is a Border Collie, an Australian Shepherd mix.
He's a Border Collie?
Yes.
Where did you get him from?
We got him from a breeder back in 2021. It was probably December 2nd of 2021.
And what was the other dog?
The other dog, her name was Danny. She was a purebred golden retriever puppy that we had purchased October 7th, 2022. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how much did you pay for the Border Collie?
We paid $500 for the Border Collie.
I'm still figuring out how you're all budgeting. And how much did you pay for the Golden Retriever?
We also paid $500 for the golden retriever.
Where did you get the money from?
A tax return.
So let me understand this. You have a 2-year-old baby?
Yes.
You have a 2-year-old baby. You got tax returns from the only income from the house, which is his, where he earned $16 an hour. And what you did was you spent $1,000 of your tax return on 2 dogs. I just am clarifying that in my own mind. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a right. Okie dokie. When you could no longer either physically and or financially take care of the dogs, you put an ad on the internet. What part of the internet?
We put the ad on Craigslist and Hoobly.
Craigslist and?
Hoobly.
It's like another Craigslist type online.
You have a copy of the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them.
Brianna hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews advertisements featuring images of 2 dogs.
Okay, so you put ads for both dogs. One, you said small rehoming fee, not a breeder, needs a new home, call for details. The other is the 1-year-old Border Collie, Aussie mix, and you had rehoming fee of $200.
Yes.
Okay. This says absolutely nothing about fostering short-term, you get the dogs back, nothing. And no other criteria in here.
Yes.
Nothing. So this is your complaint. The defendant answered your ads. You brought the 2 dogs over to her. She gave you $100.
Yes.
Yes. You left the 2 dogs with her. You were on your way back to wherever you lived, in the car, and according to you, you had a change of heart.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And you called her and you said to her, we're coming back.
Yes.
How long did that process take you?
It was within the 2 hours we had left.
So within 2 hours, you called her and said, I changed my mind.
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She had said that she had given the dog away.
One of them.
One of them, yeah.
Okay. She said, I gave the dog away. Did she tell you to whom? Did she tell you what circumstances? Did she tell you?
She said that she had given the dog to a lady named Cindy, and she mentioned that she gave this Danny to...
You have text messages, is what you're reading from text messages?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Brianna hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Okay, so this is a text in the evening, and she says to you, my friend is traveling back to Tennessee now with my friend Cindy. Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No,
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Caption, coming up.
We want our dog back.
You made a deal. She paid you $100. She gave you one back despite the fact that you didn't give her any money. Why do you think that this is a deal that you can say, well, I changed my mind?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brianna and Charity.
Brianna Sleneker claims her buyer, Charity Hoovener, wrongfully gave away a golden retriever after promising to keep the puppy.
Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No.
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Because she kept the other dog, Danny, which was a purebred golden retriever. The condition was to have both dogs together.
Okay, show me where that is. Show me something in writing where that was a condition. It certainly wasn't in your ad. It certainly wasn't in your ad, which just said you needed to find new homes for both your dogs.
It was.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant about getting a better offer for the golden retriever?
No.
Yes.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant, either on the phone or in a text, that you believed that you could get more for the golden retriever because you had paid $500 for it as a puppy? This was just a couple of months later. It was still a puppy. I'm asking you, did you say anything to her about being able to get more money for her?
No. I did not. We want our dog back because of our other dog, Courage. And
Well, what makes you think you can have the dog back?
Well,
you made a deal. She paid you $100. You took the $100. You didn't return the $100 to her. One of the dogs was already rehomed to yet another person. She gave you the dog back. She gave you one back, despite the fact that you didn't give her any money. Why do you think that this is a deal that you can say, well, I changed my mind? What makes you...
Because it was in a verbal condition to keep the dogs together.
Absolutely not.
Shh.
Sorry.
It was a verbal condition to keep the dogs together. They were a bonded pair, and she said that if we wanted to, we could...
In what month did you sell the dogs to the defendant?
It was December 4th, 2022.
12/4. Now, you got, according to you, the golden retriever in October of 2022. So you had, at most, the dogs together for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's not a bonding experience. How old was the golden retriever?
She was 2 months old when we got her.
So she was 4 months old.
Yes.
Well, you certainly could have gotten more than $100 for her. She must have been really desperate for that $100.
I really just want my dogs together.
Well, they're not together. Then you should have thought of that before you put ads here. You changed your mind. That's it. You changed for whatever reason. You felt sad in the car going home, or she's going to tell me that you had a conversation with her that involved money.
No.
I'm ready.
Hi,
All I want to know from you at this point is, and it's really not dispositive of this case, but it was in your answer. Did you ever have a conversation after she dropped the dogs off about money?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation. When was it? Was it in the car, or
It
was
was
it
by my door, by my side door.
when? At what point in this? When they came back, or
When they came back, she said, I got offered a lot more money for this dog. I think you're a scam artist, and I want what's due. I want the rest of my money.
What the rest of your money?
No.
I don't know.
No, yeah, I know.
Never said that.
Yes. She got offered more money, Your Honor.
She certainly could have gotten more
She
for this
certainly
golden
could
retriever.
have.
She certainly could have gotten more money for the
Yes.
golden retriever than the $100 that you gave her for both dogs.
Yes, for both.
But she accepted the $100 and she never returned the $100. That's it. Finished. What?
Your Honor,
You
I
have
wanted to keep Courage, and my friend here, Cindy, took Danny.
Oh, so you have the other dog?
I do, yes.
I have the other dog. Well, step up. So you were going to Tennessee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the conversation that you had with Miss Hovner.
Yes.
On the date that they dropped the dog off.
Okay. She had called me and let me know that.
Well, first of
Rihanna,
all,
I believe is her name, was going to drop the dogs off.
When did you have this discussion?
That was on the 4th, on December 4th, 2022. She called me, I would be guessing, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 5 in the afternoon, and told me that, I think her name's Brianna, was going to be dropping the dogs off.
For $100.
For $100, and she asked me, do you have, $100? And I said, well, sure.
So you gave her $100?
I gave her $100 to give, yes.
Brianna.
And I was waiting, and she was running just a little late. We was going to Tennessee. We had to get diapers and stuff. So I left the $100 with Charity, and I said, just in case she comes while I'm gone, you have the money to give her, and I'll come back when, we're done shopping to get the dog.
Okay. Now, when had you discussed with her the $100 for both dogs?
Over the phone, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation went, we had discussed the 100 for both Courage and
Do you have
Danny.
that in texts?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Not all of them, just
Not all of it?
Just the one that she's asking about.
Yeah. How is the dog?
She's doing really good. Yeah, I got her to the vet. She's growing. Oh, she 2 weeks ago was her last shots, and she's already 41 pounds. She's just growing like a weed. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this to you. I am trying hard to come up with $100 more, dear. I have 100. And you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. Then she answers you, I will come up with the rest. You were just feeding these puppies bread?
Caption coming up.
What's changed in your life financially that you think that you should be able to stretch your budget to feed so far a 40-pound dog and the other one? What's changed? Nothing.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brianna and Charity.
Brianna Sloneker is accusing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, of giving away a golden retriever hours after purchasing the puppy.
Now, you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. You were just feeding these puppies bread? That's what you wrote here. Who wrote this, you or him?
I wrote it.
And I would assume that your life circumstance hasn't changed. You're still not working, and he's still working for $16 an hour.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And at that point, back in December, what you said was, I can only afford, in effect, I can only afford to feed them bread until somebody buys them. What's changed in your life? What's changed in your life financially that you think that you should be able to stretch your budget to feed so far a 40-pound dog and the other one? What's changed? Nothing. Ridiculous people.
I was jobless at the time.
Kenyon was jobless at the time, Your Honor.
What?
Yes.
He was jobless in December.
Yes.
You still took your tax returns and bought a dog for $500. Duh.
Judy reviews a document.
She says to you, they are both really fantastic dogs. And you respond, absolutely they are. It was a nice chapter to have them. Now their fate is with you or wherever their life journey takes them. Glad you have them now. That's what you wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I'm probably going to fall madly in love. Anyway, then you changed your mind and they reached out to Paw's organization and had a chat about last night. Your suspected buyer is being rude to us, and we want our dog back. What's a Paw's organization? What is that?
When we had met her at her house, I was a little uneasy about giving her the dog and taking into consideration the area we live in Metro Detroit. There's a lot of dog fighting there, so I had to be sure that she was trustworthy. So she had mentioned to me that she is a part of the Paws organization, which is a animal-friendly organization.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You say, now you want the dog back, and you say, option A, you pay us our asking price for the dog. What was your asking price? This is after you already got the $100. Okay, so now, after you got the $100, left the dogs with her, what was your asking price? What was your asking price?
The value of her.
What was the asking price? It's your words.
I'm a little confused, I'm sorry.
Option A, you pay us our asking price for Danny. Or option B, we call our lawyers and take you to court.
Yes, I at the time wanted her to pay the remaining balance of Danny, how much we had bought her for, $500.
So you wanted more money for the dog?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't have it. You've already made your bargain. Your case is dismissed. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Brianna, then Charity.
I think that there's a lot of evidence, a lot of things that was left out and unsaid.
I thought the judge's decision was fantastic.
I just feel like everything wasn't said properly. That's probably on our part. I don't think it was necessarily fair, but that's her decision.
Cindy and I wanted the best interest in these dogs.
It just didn't feel right, so immediately we went back to get the dogs and keep them and bring them home.
It was about money.
Just stick it out next time. Don't trust everybody.
I just feel as if these dogs were not taken care of.
I hope she does have a good home.
Judy and Sarah.
You know the sadness of that whole case for me, Sarah, is the mindlessness of these two young people. I don't know where they got the $500 during that 2-year period, an extra $500 to pay for each dog. Mm-hmm. I can only speculate. When I speculate, I say to myself, based upon my common sense, neither one of them look like they're robbing a store.
No.
So I have to say to myself, you know who bought them those dogs? The president. Because the only time you get that kind of chunk of money was it your stimulus or extended something. But even if it's extended unemployment, because he was unemployed, you have $1,500 a month in rent, you have a car, you have insurance, you have a 2-year-old baby. What kind of thought process goes into buying 2 expensive dogs?
And
Want
big
a dog?
dogs.
And big dog. Well, one of them was a big dog. One of them was a substantial-sized dog. Then you have a 2-year-old baby, and you're going to feed the dogs bread. So what do? You have another baby. That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I guess I get so excited about it because based upon my history, it's always the children that end up suffering.
I knew you were going there. And it's true.
Yeah.
You're feeding a dog bread and think that that's an appropriate way to take care of an animal and trying to get it off your plate. The first thing I would be doing is making sure I didn't sign up for another child financially, responsibility-wise.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Cut the baby's formula with water so that you can stretch it? I mean, they both look like they could use a good meal. I don't understand. I just don't understand the thought process. And it's always the innocents that suffer because even the dogs are innocents. Clearly, the babies, but clearly the dogs are innocents. You know, they just want to be fed and have a home where you're not a 4-month-old puppy eating bread until they can find somebody that can give them something more nourishing. It's absolutely outrageous and irresponsible and tragic. That's what I think. Life isn't getting any different from what it was 40 years ago. It just stays the same.
Yeah. Well, at least the golden retriever is in a good home, goes to the vet, hopefully is getting fed real dog food. So there's a bright side or a silver lining in the end of that. So.
Right. Now, if you could just find reasonable parents to take care of these 2 children that they created.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Jason Gabriel is suing his former friend, Lawrence Sr. for money he gave Lawrence to run a boys' basketball team.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2167, Gabriel versus Senior.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gabriel, it's always exciting for me when I find a case that I can't relate to based upon my own personal experience. And this has to do with sports.
Yes.
And those people who know me know that I'm really a non-functioning American when it comes to sports. I understand baseball, but nothing else. However, I have a little bit of experience with people. So you have a son, that would be you. Could you stand up for a moment? Who's tall? Now you can sit down. And who likes to play basketball.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he's been playing basketball for a long time. Well, most sports stopped at the start of the pandemic. And he was playing for a team.
Yes, Your Honor.
I know that I'm going to get fuzzy on this eventually. So far, I'm holding up okay. So he was playing for the team. The team closed down, as did most other things. And the pandemic is sort of winding down, and sports are coming back. And you wanted your son to play basketball because this is your senior year in high school?
No, I'm a freshman in college, Your Honor.
Last year, so this happened last year?
Yes, I was a senior.
So this happened last year when he was a senior in high school, and you wanted him to play because he enjoyed it and because you thought somebody would find him? A scout?
Mostly the enjoyment, but there's always a chance for the scout.
Okay, and you know, you're his father, and fathers always think that their sons are uber talented and maybe can be one of those quiet self-starters who turns out to be the hero on the basketball court. I have a grandson who plays baseball, and he plays baseball pretty well. Plays in college. His father follows him around from one game to another like it was a full-time job.
I can relate to that.
It is.
Well, your son wanted to play. There was no team. The defendant was a basketball coach who you knew.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whose team was also the teams that he coached were also defunct because of COVID. So far, correct, Mr. Senior?
Yes, ma'am.
So at some point, you approached him and said, I'd love to start up this team again because I would like my son to play ball. He wants to play ball, and nobody else is doing it that I know of. What would it take to restart a team that could be part of a league or play other teams? You know.
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Yeah.
You're close.
You're close.
Yes.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So you talked about an amount, and Mr. Senior
Yes, ma'am.
said, I can start the team up for $8,500.
Yes, ma'am.
You, who wanted desperately for your son to play ball his senior year, said, I'm going to give you the money. You gave him $8,500. So far, correct?
8,200.
It's $8,500, Your Honor. I have the check right here if you'd like it.
Okay. If you have the check, cash it, so it's $8,500. The team only played one game or one tournament?
No, it was actually four tournaments in total for that season that we played.
And how many are you supposed to play?
We had planned on 6 in total. 1 would be out of state or far away.
No. How many games were supposed to be played by your son's team being coached by the defendant?
So a tournament could have 3 games. And that takes over the course of a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday.
So
a tournament could be 3 games.
Tournament is 3 games.
Could be 4 as well if you're successful.
Okay, so you were supposed to have 4 tournaments?
We were supposed to have 6 tournaments, and we did have 4.
Okay, so you played most of the games?
Yes.
And then the team was disbanded?
Yes.
For whatever reason, may or may not be relevant. So how much money do you want back? You're suing him for $4,800.
Right.
Well, you know, math is my second non-strong suit.
Yep.
But if you paid him $85 and you played 2/3 or 3/4 of the games that you were supposed to play, why do you think you would be entitled to $4,800 back?
Because I also fronted the money for the uniforms.
Well, that was spent.
And the graphics.
Well, that was
in
spent.
addition to the $8,500.
I understand that, but that was all spent. The uniforms, the players got.
Right.
Right? And they kept them?
The players kept some, and the defendant has the rest of them.
Okay. Do you want them back?
I do not.
Well, he'll give them to you back if you want them, because he's not using them.
How do I know that? This is his team, his organization. It's a non-for-profit company.
Okay, let's deal with this slowly. We're dealing with the math first. Do you have, Mr. Senior, do you have any of the uniforms?
No, ma'am. I never collected the uniforms.
Did you
Full
have?
possession.
What?
Well, he had sole possession of the uniforms.
So you don't have any uniforms?
No, he's the one that handed them out.
Okay. Did any of the players give them back to you?
No, none of them gave.
So you don't have any uniforms? He doesn't have any uniforms?
Okay. But, Your Honor, it didn't cost $85 to run the team, that's my...
Just a second. Not what we're talking about, sir. Your $8,500 went to have 6 tournaments. You had 4 tournaments, right?
Yes.
Whether or not you get your money back is a whole other thing. But the uniforms were purchased. That you don't get back. The advertising, graphics were done. That you don't get back. Whether it's for 4 or 6.
That was his team's name on it.
Doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Caption, coming up.
Majority did not pay.
Do you have anything that requires that they pay in a contract?
That would be Coach Larry, that he does, and he passed out those to the kids.
No, he didn't put in $8,500. You did.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason and Lawrence.
Jason Gabriel claims his former friend, Lawrence Sr., owes him money after they started a boys' basketball team.
Now, can you tell me why the tournaments were cut short, sir?
There was a number of reasons, Your Honor. One of them was right from the start, both me and my other son tried to discourage Mr. Giamni about forming a team of that age group.
Okay. I don't want to get back into that, sir. You took his money. You played 4 out of the 6 tournaments. How much were you paid to coach out of this $8,500?
I wasn't paid anything.
Did you?
It's more of an administrative cost.
What administrative costs?
Scheduling tournaments, gyms, gas, transporting kids that didn't have rides. More than half the team was not supported by their family. At least one kid was homeless.
Was there an accounting that you asked for, sir?
Yes, that was my initial response to Coach Larry. Was yes, he told me $8,500 to start the team.
No, I'm asking you an accounting at the end of the day.
I asked him where the money went. Could he account for $8,500 in addition to $1,600 that other kids paid to play? That's how I was going to get my money back. It wasn't just, I'm going to give you the money and you go do with it what you want. He told me it was $8,500 to start the team, and I would get my money back.
Oh, from what source?
The kids pay to join the team.
Okay. How many people were on the team?
We had as many as 14, maybe 16 come through.
To tryouts. They didn't play. I'm sorry.
Judy gestures for a man beside Lawrence to rise.
How you doing, Your Honor?
How am I doing? I've been better. You're his son?
Yeah, I actually run the program with him. Yes.
Okay, good. So how many young men were playing basketball?
On the team that you're talking about that's in question, I believe there was as many as 10 to 12 that actually came. The numbers vary because we're talking about 18-year-old children that come and go as they please. They don't really want to be that.
18-year-olds are maybe children to their parents. They're not 18-year-old children.
When it comes to this, then
the
responsibility part, yeah. I don't know. I'm old, I guess. They're children to me still. Sorry.
What I want to know is, did you have a contract with him, a written contract?
I did not.
You just said, here's your $8,500 and I'll get my money back when the kids sign up and pay their dues. How much do they pay each to join the team?
Coach Larry set that number at $600 per player.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we tell you where that number comes from? Over the years, because we've been doing this for over 20 years, the average cost to run a team for a full season, we averaged it out to be about $600 per kid, because on a 10 to 12 man roster, 10 being the least you should have.
How does he make money?
We don't make money, I'm sorry. We don't make any money.
So you don't make any money, you just do this for the love of the sport?
He grew up in a basketball family, he's played basketball all his life. I've been in a sports family, my brother has, and we just love sports.
So this is not a money-making operation?
Not at all. We probably put in more money than we've made or put out in the program. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, I coach high school football. Actually, his son goes to the school I coach. So I was aware of him, and I also coach baseball. So I just don't, you're not going to make any money coaching youth sports if that's what everybody's saying.
Well, I'm just asking you.
No, I know that.
I'm just asking you, because there is a suggestion here that some of that money was to pay you as coach. And I just want to know whether that is in fact correct, whether any of this $8,500 went to you.
Not directly, no. Talking about gas.
Indirectly to pay for gas and pick up
maybe
that.
Maybe a car repair. I only had one car at the time.
Okay.
So
Mr.
me and my wife
Gabriel,
were retired.
Mr. Gabriel, Can you tell me if you have, since you have no written contract,
Yes.
you have no written contract requiring anything. You were supposed to start up a basketball team, which he did. I assume you played, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you played in 4 out of 6 tournaments. Stand up next to your dad. Did you play successfully?
I only played 3 out of the 4 tournaments.
That's reasonable.
But we were
Is
successful.
that normal? That members, I don't even know how many people are on the basketball court at a time.
5 at a time.
5 out of
What?
5 at each team at a time, so
5
10 total. Yes.
Well, if you had 10 to 12 kids, you what? What are you laughing at? I don't know.
I tried to expose it to you before this case. I tried to put it on TV. I played the Lakers.
So if I
the
go back up to
Clippers.
2019, we met Coach Larry in 2019. I didn't just pick him out of the blue now.
I didn't suggest that you picked him out of the
So
blue.
my son
Mr.
played for
Gabriel.
him in the past.
Mr. Gabriel, you don't look like the man that would give some stranger $8,500 to start up a team, not knowing him.
Correct.
Okay, I accept that. I just don't understand that are you a business person?
I am.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm a contractor.
Well, if you're a contractor,
Yes.
that I know. You have contracts.
Absolutely.
You're a contractor has contracts. And the contract that you do, you build homes or you build...
I remodel homes, yes.
Okay, so the contracts that you do lay out with specificity what you're going to do, what the materials cost are, what the VIG is on it, you know, within a certain amount of play. But it lays out everything that you're going to do. You're turning over $8,500 to the defendant, and there is nothing in there that suggests that with any specificity what he has to do to comply. He had to start a team, which he did, right? Had to start a team, which he did, where your son played.
Yes.
Which he did. There were supposedly 6 tournaments, out of which 4 were successfully played, and your son played in 3 of them, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you should have been happy. Somebody got a chance to see him. Did anybody give you a basketball scholarship?
I do play Division III basketball in Brooklyn.
Good for you. There you go. Did somebody find you at one of these games?
No.
How were you recruited?
I did multiple showcases, and I won in Connecticut in particular.
He's a good player, Your Honor.
He's a good player.
And so I was found through showcases that I did by my own.
Okay. But you played, and that was good practice. It was good.
Yes.
I don't know why it was disbanded after 4 tournaments. Do you? Do you?
Yes. There was multiple players who did not want to play anymore because they were verbally abused by the coach, and they just were fed up. And then there was other players that were let play for free, and people just thought that was unfair.
What do you mean with not play for free? Explain that to me.
That they were just let on the team without paying.
Oh, so some people were disturbed that some people paid to play and some didn't.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have anything that requires that they pay in a contract?
That would be Coach Larry that he does, and he passed out those to the kids.
No, I'm asking you for your... He didn't put in $8,500, you did.
Caption, coming up.
Here it says, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage. I assume that's your home mortgage.
Correct, after the season was over.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that, sir. Do you understand?
Lawrence lowers his eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason and Lawrence.
Jason Gabriel is accusing his former friend, Lawrence Sr., of owing him money after their boys' basketball team ended.
Go ahead, sir.
I put the money to the team. He runs the team. I can't tell him how to run his team.
No, would you have a contract, sir, that tells you what your $8,500 was to be used for, and the expectation that you were going to get that money returned to you via fees that were paid to each individual player. That has to be it. And in the event that they don't pay, who's going to pay?
Well, I do have a text message from the defendant saying, I did not use all the money. It did not cost $8,500,
Okay,
and I will pay you back.
That's what I would like to see. Because it was disbanded for whatever reason. All your reasons, sir, are hearsay. What is your first name?
Gianni.
Gianni, the reasons are hearsay. Why people left, they didn't like to be yelled at, they didn't like some people. That's all stuff that I can't process as a jurist in my head. All I know is this is a contract case. So now he paid $8,500, and Did you, Mr. Senior, at some point say the $8,500 hasn't been all used up and I'll give you back some of the money?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And this is also a text message saying he used it for his mortgage and that he agreed to pay me $400 a month to pay back the
Okay.
money.
Coach, fees to catch up on my mortgage, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage, at least $1,500. And between operating costs, there is roughly $2,400 left.
Correct.
Well, that's what you wrote to him.
Yeah, and I was willing to give him the money that the kids had paid up front.
No. There is roughly not the money that the kids paid up front, sir. You say to him in your text, after this was all over, because I assume that this is all over after the team is disbanded, there is roughly $2,400 left. So I'm going to have to work out sort of a payment arrangement, if you don't mind, which means you didn't have the money, but it was left over and you spent it on something else. And it's here it says, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage. I assume that's your home mortgage.
Correct, after the season was over.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that, sir. Do you understand? Okay, well, this acknowledges several things. It acknowledges that he used $1,500 to catch up on his mortgage, right? And that, according to you and according to your son, whether or not you took a fee for yourself, paying your home mortgage is a fee. Do you understand that, sir?
I do.
All righty. So
I sure do.
You sure do. So $1,500, did you pay him back the $1,500?
No, because at that point...
No, the answer is no. And you said even after the $1,500 that you used to pay your home mortgage, there was still $2,400 left. That's what you said in here. That's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you add 24, and 15 is 009 is $3,900.
Yes.
Even my rudimentary math suggests to me that that is a correct number. Well, that's minimally what you owe him, your mortgage payment and the $2,400 left. You're suing him for $4,800.
Right.
This acknowledges $39.
Absolutely.
Prove to me any more.
So I went back to Mr. Senior and I said, I didn't necessarily believe that it cost $5,500 to run the team. I said, so therefore, you owe me $5,000. I said, you need to either get a loan and pay me back, or he said, I can't get a loan. I can give you $400 a month.
I'd like to see the exchange.
I said, if you're going to give
I'd like to see the exchange, just because you said, I think it's $5,000.
And this is where he says, I'd like to pay you back.
Jason hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
This doesn't say anything about $5,000.
And this is where I told him that he misappropriated money that was owed back to me, and that was his response.
Just because you said it, he doesn't acknowledge here in his answer that it's $5,000. Silence cannot be construed as acknowledging $5,000. Even the math doesn't fit in. You played more than half the tournaments. So
can we see how much the tournaments cost then, please?
No, I'm not bothering. That's nonsense. Put something in a contract. You're a contractor. Have a contract. Right now, he owes you $3,900.
And not for the uniforms?
No.
That has his team?
No, he says he doesn't have the uniforms.
Okay.
And I didn't go to 7 years postgraduate school to discuss a basketball uniform, a pair of shorts, and a pair of socks. I don't care.
The uniforms are $1,000.
Well, then somebody's overpaying for a pair of shorts. $3,900. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Lawrence, then Jason.
I think it was unfair.
I'm glad she ruled somewhat in my favor.
Because he sponsored a team.
And yes, did I do it for my son? I did. But there was 11 other young men that I did it for.
Fighting amongst each other, poor discipline, and the lack of financial support from the kids.
When you have a group of 18-year-old young men and you don't practice and you don't kind of reel them in and show them that you're the coach and that you run the team, it can get a little hairy.
It is what it is.
I did what I did for these young men. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Me and Jason's are friends. I don't think this is a deterrent.
Always have contracts.
Judy and Sarah.
Okay, so I know that when we got the paperwork on this case that you really tried hard to give me a rudimentary lesson in basketball.
I did. Those years managing in high school really paid off today. So
yes,
learned
that's right.
a lot.
You managed.
I did a basketball team, so I know a little bit about AAU. A lot of the kids that played at the school that I went to had previously played on AAU teams, so I kind of get
What's
the dynamic.
AAU?
Oh, Amateur Athletic Union, AAU.
I never would have figured that.
Me neither. So they played on a lot of AAU teams before coming to high school, so I know a little bit about the structure. And when I read it, it's a nonprofit organization that kids play in to get exposure, hopefully to move up to the next level of basketball. But to me, I read it as he was sponsoring the team for $8,500, sort of like how you see in Little League, you know, Johnny's Pizza across the front of the
No,
team's
that
uniforms.
wasn't this.
But this seemed like a different type of setup, and to go through the coach directly, I'm not sure the very specific structure of who gets paid and who doesn't, who sponsors and who doesn't, but definitely paying your mortgage out of an $8,500 that was meant to start a team seems a little outside.
Yeah, well, it's
scope.
outside the box, especially since both he and his son say they do this without compensation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to take money and put it in your pocket. If you take money out of that account and pay your personal mortgage, that's getting paid. Yeah. It was not a difficult case, and the text messages made the whole thing a lot easier. Now I know that there were 5 people on a court
basketball
from each team.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. To his arrest.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you, Kevin?
Case 2201, Parkinson versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Brian.
Mr. Parkinson, you are suing the defendant, alleging that she caused you to be falsely arrested.
That is correct.
The defendant has a counterclaim. Her counterclaim is based upon the same incident for which you were arrested. She's claiming that you placed both herself and her passenger in her car in fear because you displayed erratic behavior and threatened them with a gun. And I gather that you two live in a gated community. Is that correct?
Yes,
where is that?
Arkansas.
How long have you lived there?
8 years.
And you?
26 years.
This incident occurred on what date, sir?
June 7th.
Of last year.
Yes.
You were driving what kind of car, Mr. Parkinson?
A gray Toyota Tundra.
Sir, I think I know what that looks like. Could you bring that up for me so that I can see a Toyota Tundra?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a little car. That sounds like a big car.
It's a truck.
On her laptop, Sarah shows Judy images of pickup trucks.
Big. And what kind of car were you driving?
A Toyota Camry.
That I know what it looks like. It's a regular size, smallish car. This incident happened, according to the complaint, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
I'm going to start with you, Mr. Parkinson, since it's your claim for false arrest.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me your version of what happened on June 7th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume you were on your way home.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
Miss Burke pulled out of the station in front of my vehicle, directly in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes extremely hard.
Okay. Either because she wasn't paying attention, right?
Could be.
Could be. Well, you wouldn't think. Just let me stop. When was the last time you were psychiatrically hospitalized?
Never.
Are you currently taking any psychotropic medication?
No, ma'am.
Were you intoxicated on the 7th of June?
No, ma'am.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Parkinson, let me go back a little bit. This is a non-psychotic, not drunk person. So if you're a thinking person, you know that if she pulled out, either she wasn't paying attention because she's not driving the Tundra, you are. You're driving a this, she's driving a this. So she wouldn't place herself and her son in harm's way purposely to pull out in front of your Tundra.
I would hope not.
Well, I would say absolutely not. I don't have to even guess about that. She did not put herself purposely in harm's way. And so she pulled out in front of you. You had to put on your brakes hard.
For her safety.
You weren't thinking about her safety. You're not thinking about anybody's safety. It's a reaction. If somebody pulls out unexpectedly, you put your brakes on. Mm-hmm. Right? That's not going through your mind for her safety. It's put your brakes on. I mean, because if you were thinking about her safety, then we wouldn't be here today. So after you put on your brakes to stop, did anything happen?
Some objects in the back of my truck dislodged, some stuff in the back of the seat moved.
And these things that got dislodged, did they get dislodged from the back cab in the truck or from the interior of the truck?
Both in the bed and the interior.
Okay, what got dislodged in the interior?
Some paperwork, some clothing.
Okay, so it fell on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, and in the back part of the truck?
Bed of the truck, some tools shifted also.
Didn't fall out of the truck. They just moved from one place to another.
That is correct.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to follow Miss Burke into the village because I live in the village.
When you say you followed her in, describe what you mean you followed her in.
She was in front of me, and I followed her into the village.
Don't play with me, sir. I read your complaint. You were tailing her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's say I was tailing her closely because you were annoyed.
Yes.
There we go. So you understand at this point, sir, that what you were involved in is road rage. You, not her. She was an accident. She was negligent. She wasn't paying attention. Let's say all of those things, not on purpose, because that would be stupid, and she has not recently been psychiatrically hospitalized. You, on the other hand, made a purposeful decision to tail her because you were annoyed that your tools moved. That's what happened. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, I was annoyed.
Okay, you were annoyed, and what followed was an incident of road rage. Your husband, you've been in the car with him when he's had a little bit of road rage? Think about it before you answer me. Have you been in the car with him when he has reacted in a different way from the way you would have reacted to another car?
He has, very minimal.
The answer is either yes or no. Have you been with him in the car when he has reacted in a way that you would not have reacted in a traffic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Caption coming up.
I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson claims his neighbor, Shelley Burke, owes for the costs of being falsely arrested. Shelley is countersuing Brian for emotional distress, saying he threatened her with a gun.
And when he's reacted that way, did you ever say anything to him?
It was minimal. I didn't respond to it.
Really? Okay. Good. When my husband gets involved in one of those road rage things because somebody cuts him off, I'm all over him like white on rice. Are you crazy, putting me in jeopardy because you got a bad temper? That's what I say to my husband. She can attest to that. Me, I once said it to a police officer who pulled him over. Give him a ticket. Give him 2 tickets. Maybe he'll stop. Right?
True.
So now you're involved in a road rage hissy fit, and you're tailgating her. How many blocks did you tail her? Or how many miles did you tail her? Don't look as if you don't understand my question.
No.
Okay, good.
3/4 of a mile, if that.
Okay, well, that's a pretty long way, 3/4 of a mile. So you were tailing her for 3/4 of a mile. And at some point, did she make a turn with her car to avoid you tailing her?
Yes.
A 90-degree turn?
Yes.
So tell me, now you're following her for 3/4 of a mile, and she makes this turn.
Yes.
Now, when she made that sharp turn, did you follow her?
Nope.
No.
No.
No. I know you didn't follow her because she made that turn to get away from you. Do you understand? I've been on this earth a very long time. You, Mr. Parkinson, are an ordinary guy with a bad temper. So I've played this scene in my head, both from personal experience and from watching other jerks like you, in my head 100 times. So when she made this turn, she made the turn to get away from you, and you said, well, I accomplished my mission. I jarred her a little bit. That's if I believe your story, all of it. And you went home. Now, I'm to the point where she makes the turn and you went home. So far, correct?
That is correct.
Does that look familiar to you, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I would like you to walk over there, show me where the gas station is, and show me where you started to follow her.
I'll be more than happy to.
A map.
Of course, it says Shell right here. That's where the incident began.
Right.
She pulled out immediately in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes.
Just a second. So she caused you to hit your brakes?
Yes.
That
And
I know.
then she turned right. I followed her into the village. Everybody gets close.
No. Just show me. I followed her into the village and
Right
show me
here.
where you proceeded.
Then we drove down, and she turned, I believe, here or here.
Turned how?
To the right.
Okay. And you proceeded to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can step back. So she turned off to get away from the maniac who was tailgating her because she had made a mistake in pulling out in front of him at a gas station. You go home, and what do you do when you get home?
I backed my truck in.
And then what did you do?
I got out of my truck to move the tools and stuff that had shifted to the front of the bed, to the back of the bed, where I can get to them better for work, because I had to slam on the brakes twice.
Mr. Parkinson, do you know what doesn't make sense to me? Your husband isn't a stupid man, is he?
No, ma'am.
No. Now, I don't drive a truck, but I know when I go to the store and buy 2 gallons of chicken soup with matzo balls, and I go to put them in the car, I say to myself, Judy, it's possible that you're going to have to stop short, that a light's going to turn red. So I put the chicken soup in between the front seat and the back seat of the car, and I move the seat so it's stable, so that if my car stops a little short, because even if it stops a little short, my chicken soup would be on the floor of the car. So I make sure that it doesn't move. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't secure this toolbox any better. If you stop short, those tools are naturally going to move, right? The weight of the tools is actually going to move. Okay, so I just am putting this whole thing in my head. Do you need a permit to buy a gun in Arkansas?
You do not have to have a permit to carry in Arkansas. It is an
But you
open
have to make
carry
an
state.
application.
You have to apply to buy a handgun or long rifle.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have, multiple times.
Just a second. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
What have you applied to buy?
Numerous guns.
Which you still have.
Yes.
I assume that you keep those guns within the proximity of your home.
They are all kept in the house, Your Honor.
The next thing, according to you, the police show up at your door.
That is correct.
And they have a conversation with you about a report.
Yes, they
that
did.
someone has, in your area, has complained that there were shots fired by you out of your truck during this road rage incident.
That's what the statement says.
That's what the statement says. And I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
I told them they could.
Mr. Parkinson, I know that you think that I'm stupid. I know that you must think that I'm stupid. Did you give the police permission to search your house? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Of course not. Because in your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Correct.
In your house, that's a yes or a no. In your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Yes.
You keep multiple guns in your house, but don't carry one around for protection in your truck. When did they arrest you?
I was arrested on August 2nd.
Okay. And?
I was told to call the village police department. I promptly called them, and they told me I had a warrant for my arrest.
And?
I was very shocked.
And?
And I was charged with felony assault, and I had to pay $1,080 to bond and fees to get out of jail.
And?
I was released from jail. And then on the 17th, is that correct?
19th.
The 19th of August, I had a court date.
And?
It was nolle prost, due to the request of the village police department for lack of evidence.
Okay. And?
So I'm out that amount of money for bond for a false arrest, because a false statement, and half a day
Okay,
of
we're
work.
going to find out if it's a false statement. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I have to let that sink into you, Mr. Parkinson. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I'm going to hear the defendant. I know one thing for certain. You were involved in a road rage incident, and you were the perpetrator. Whether or not you flashed a gun, she's going to tell me. We certainly know that you have guns, according to you, multiple guns, in your house. I suppose you have a couple for you and a couple for your wife. Who else lives in your house with you?
Just two of us.
Just the two of you. How many guns does he have in the house?
Caption, coming up, Shelley at the map.
So when I go around this one S-car, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. He popped the gun again.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson is accusing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, of lying to the police and getting him falsely arrested. Shelley claims Brian was shooting his gun while following her home.
How many guns does he have in the house?
We have 2 long guns that he used for hunting, and we each have a handgun.
And you each have a handgun?
Yes.
Good.
They are in travel cases that are locked.
You want to know something? I don't believe that.
But we have grandchildren that come over.
When there were grandchildren, you may lock them. Okay, now we're going to you, Miss Burke. Did you see him when you cut him off?
I did not.
Let's start out with the fact that you were exiting the gas station. You didn't see him. You weren't paying attention. You didn't look that way. Whatever it was, you cut him off. So let's start from there.
You got it. This gray truck comes up behind me, swerving and revving his motor and all that. Got as close as he possibly could.
Why don't you show me
I
over
will
there?
do that. Okay.
Shelley approaches a map on a view screen.
There's 2 lanes going into the village. There's a left and a right lane. I go left, he goes right. Well, I get in front of him, and then he starts getting behind me, swerving his car back and forth, revving his motor. He is so close. He's probably closest to me and him. I mean, he's not a car length away. He's right up on my bumper. And revving his truck, and I'm going the speed limit. Then I turn, I make a left. He's still right on me, never lets up. It's kind of a tricky area because it's curvy. So when I go around this one S-curve, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. And he heard it. We heard, even on the phone call, I think you can possibly hear it. He popped the gun again. And then he's on 911 talking to her, and the lady's saying, be calm, be calm. And I'm leaning down in the car. He's trying to tell me to go. He looks like he's going on past us. But when he does that, he rolls down the window, and you could see him holding a gun in his hand. And he says something I can't understand what he's saying. He's getting the license plate number. So we thought he kept on going.
So your son got the license number?
Yeah, he got the license plate number. He's on the phone with 911 at this time.
And that's what was given to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I got the 911 call here with us today.
I would like to hear it. Step back. Can I hear the 911 call, please?
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was around shooting at us.
What?
There's a pop.
Gray Toyota truck. He was shooting at us. His license plate number is...
I need all units. We got a vehicle that is, the complainant's on 911 saying the vehicle is shooting at them. I'm fixing to run the tag. Who am I speaking with?
This is Leslie Scott Rogers.
And you said what kind of vehicle was it?
It was a gray Toyota Tundra. Go.
It's coming back on a gray Toyota Tundra, and that's what the complainant says. It's a 2014 Toyota Tundra.
Okay, start that 911 call all over again. Pay careful attention, because I thought at the beginning of this tape, I too heard a shot. Could we start again, please? Take your hand out of your pocket.
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was around shooting at us.
There it is. There it is. Got it. You can stop it.
That doesn't sound like a gunshot.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Parkinson. Your case is dismissed. I have a counterclaim, so stand where you are. The counterclaim is by Miss Burke for the emotional trauma that she, let's just talk about her, went through as a result of your road rage and shooting your gun at her, which you did. You probably didn't shoot it to hit her or to hit the car, because I don't think you're that stupid. Stupid, yes, but I don't think that's stupid. I think you did it to frighten her, just to frighten her. Then I think that you brought the gun that you keep in your truck when you work, maybe on your person, which you probably have a perfectly legal right to do, and you took the gun, you said, just in case something happens, because I did, in fact, shoot my gun in her direction, because I heard it on the 911 call. I better put it in the house. I better put it in the house. So you took the gun and you brought it into the house, and then saying, oh, police are here. Oh, well, search my truck. You won't find a gun. Search me. You won't find a gun on me. Don't search my house. And I guarantee you that you didn't say to the policemen when they came, I do have a gun, but it's locked in my house. Show me something where you told the police that you had a gun, but it was in the house. Nothing, because it didn't happen. Based upon that 911 call, the fact that you were involved in a road rage incident with her, tailing her at least 3/4 of a mile, right on her tail, causing that 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, that's trauma. My heart would have been racing triple time, because I don't know whether behind me is a lunatic or just a stupid guy who can't control his temper, and his wife hasn't been able to beat it out of him for the last how many years you're married. Because there's no question he's done that sort of thing before. Maybe not with a gun. Maybe not with a gun. When was the last time, sir, prior to this time that you were arrested? When was the last time prior to this time that you were arrested? Year?
19.
Then 19, your age or 2019?
2019.
2019. For what? Now, don't think. I know that if I were arrested once, a couple of years ago, I would have remembered what it was.
Well, I was arrested for supposed harassment, violation of no contact order. What else?
No, don't look at her.
It's been so many times, I can't remember.
So you've been arrested multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. You picked them.
I don't see how this pertains, Your
How
Honor.
does it pertain?
I do
For your
how it pertains.
propensity for violence, sir.
This has nothing to do with violence.
No, it does have to do with her counterclaim. $5,000 is what your counterclaim is for. Is that correct? Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. Your claim's dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was a very bad day.
We do not carry weapons in our vehicles.
I won't even go out at night anymore because I'm scared he's coming by my house.
She described in the report a black weapon. We don't have a black handgun.
The truth is, I saw the guns.
Well, I think she created a situation by admitting she didn't see me.
I don't understand why he would even say that.
People want to drive stupid, let them, and just back off.
Judy.
The plaintiff was certainly not forthcoming. I let him search my truck. I let him search me. What about your house? Did you tell them I do have a gun, but it wasn't out, it wasn't me, because I leave my guns at, my 2 long guns and my 2 short guns at home? Yeah. You could hear the pop in the first part of that when,
911 call.
When he was hysterical. And believe me, he wasn't hysterical.
Just because someone's tailing
Just because someone's tailing you. You don't call 911. You pull into your house and you lock the door fast. You only do that if someone's pointing a gun. And so there's no question. There's no question that he did that. How dare you put someone in fear purposely?
You're just doing it to create a fear in someone. And to do that, especially to a woman driving in front of you in a small Camry, it says more about him than it does anything else, I think.
At that moment, I'd put him in jail for 5 days and say, yeah, next time, don't do it.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justice for property damage, breaking a lease, and a dog attack.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Be seated, everyone.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2080 Baptiste versus Carter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Brooke.
Miss Baptiste, you and Miss Carter were roommates.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
From October 7th to April 1st. Actually, May.
And it is your claim that Miss Carter vandalized certain property of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Most specifically, a very expensive couch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had an argument, and that during the course of this argument, her dog bit you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for breaching the lease, because she left.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it was a good thing that she left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were happy that she left. Her dog bit you. She vandalized
Right,
the sofa. You were very happy
very
that
happy
she
left, yeah.
You were very happy. So we're going to eliminate that breach of the lease part.
No.
Oh yes, we're going to eliminate the breach of the lease part because you were happy that she left.
I didn't want her to live in the same situation as her, but being that the rent was so expensive, it wouldn't have been my best interest for her to leave.
It's with her to stay with her dog that bit you.
Right.
I mean, I don't want you to sound ridiculous to me, okay?
Right.
All right, let's not sound ridiculous to me. Normal person, if they were bitten by their roommate's dog, and if their roommate vandalized their property, that roommate would be happy to see them go.
But I'm not happy with the expensive rent by myself.
Well, of course, but your choice would be staying with her and her dog that bit you.
But if her name's on the lease...
Just a second. That's between her and the landlord. I just told you, I'm sticking with vandalizing and dog bite. So tell me when this dog bite took place.
It's on March 29th.
What kind of dog was it, by the way?
It was a Belgian Malinois.
What do they look like?
It looks like a German Shepherd.
Is that what you have, Miss Carter? A Belgian
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. A Belgian Malinois, like a police dog.
So it looks like a German Shepherd?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a large dog?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved in together, you moved in with the dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me what happened March 29th.
Okay, so before March 29th, Adrian and I got in a petty argument. It was dumb, we made up. In the argument, she confessed to me that...
No, just a minute. You engaged in a petty argument, and then you made up.
Yes.
And the petty argument was on what date?
It was on the March 27th.
And you made up?
Yes.
Okay. On the 27th, what were you arguing about?
My dog tore up the carpet, and she sent this long paragraph, and we were just going back and forth, and we realized it was dumb, so we decided to drop it. And that's when she confessed to...
On the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were arguing about the dog, and then on the 27th, after you were over the argument about the dog, is that what you're telling me? Be very careful.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
She confessed that she gave the guy that I was seeing a lap dance.
And?
And I immediately cut all ties with her.
So you cut all ties with her how?
I stopped speaking to her.
Even though you were roommates?
Yes.
Okay.
After I stopped talking to her, social media posts were made.
By whom?
Adrian.
Okay. Social media posts were made. Do you have those?
No, I do not.
Do you have those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't you have them if this is your case?
They erase, but I have other things that I think you would want to see.
I'm going in order. This is a case, so don't try to creep into my mind. Even say in your complaint a couple of days later, there were things posted on social media. And is what you're telling me that they were erased?
Right, I didn't save anything that she posted.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to see anything, correct?
Correct.
So you didn't save anything?
No, ma'am.
Then you have no evidence of anything that happened
So
later.
I saw that she had no remorse for what she did. Then I made social media posts. Adrian was mad that I made social media posts. So the next morning, she's yelling at the top of her lungs at 10 in the morning. I wake up to see what she's yelling about. And she's just saying how I'm a and I shouldn't have posted what I posted. And we were just arguing about the situation, and I asked, how could she do this to me? It was a very heated argument. She was yelling at the top of her lungs. I was yelling at the top of my lungs. During the argument, her dog is whoo, going crazy. And while we were arguing, we were pretty close, the dog bit me, and I said, you need to get your dog. She said, no, your dog is good. And we continued to argue. The dog came to bite me again, and that's when I grabbed what was behind me, which was a paper towel holder, and I chucked it at the dog.
So the dog bit you on the arm?
Yes, ma'am, twice.
Okay. I would like to see a medical report on that.
Okay. All right, I have a photo of the bite, the antibiotics, and then this is the report.
Brooke hands a photo of an injured arm and documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Would you show this to Miss Carter, please?
Kevin brings the photo to Adrian.
Your Honor, I know she has a video of the entire incident, if you'd rather.
It's not her obligation to prove your case, as my law clerk so aptly told me in the last case. Not her obligation, it's your obligation. Okay.
Kevin returns the photo to Judy.
So, go ahead.
After her dog bit me, I immediately grabbed my dog and I go to the hospital. I filled out
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Doberman.
Where was your Doberman when this was going on?
He was in the cage, and he's still a baby as well. So I went to the hospital, got treated. While I was at the hospital, Adrian called the police, and she said that I attacked her dog.
Don't tell me what she said to the police unless you have a police report.
Yes, ma'am, I have a police report.
Then I'd like to see the police report. That's an official business record.
So this is the first police report for the dog bite.
Brooke hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so April 19th, this day, Adrian knocked on my door.
No, April 19th? Where was April 19th? I thought you moved out on April 1st.
No, she moved out on April 19th.
So is what you're saying after all this altercation, she moved out?
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed in the apartment with her dog from the 29th to April 19th?
Yes, ma'am. And I went to a friend's house the day the dog bit me, and then I went home for a week, and then that's when I came back, and this second incident happened.
So after the dog bit you, you did not go home. You took your dog and left.
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed at whose house for a week?
I stayed at a friend that lives an hour away from my current apartment.
On what date did you return?
So I stayed one night at a friend's house, and then I returned, and then I went home for a week. So
when you went, stop playing with papers.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you went home for the day, was the defendant at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any conversations with her?
No, ma'am.
Just stayed out of her way and packed a few things and left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to stay?
At home in Alabama.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am. Until things cooled down, basically.
Okay, and when did you go back?
I went back, I believe, April 17th.
And what happened when you went back on the 17th?
A few days later, April 19th, Adrian was knocking on my door at 9 a.m. in the morning saying that I need to come to the leasing office because there's a new roommate here. I told her no, and then that's when she started threatening me and calling me all these kinds of names. So I take my dog again, I go outside, and I call an officer, and that's also So when I called my mom, and she convinced me to go up there to speak with the new roommate to see, you know, who they were.
What new roommates? Just a second.
She tried to get 2 young girls to replace her on the lease.
And it was unsatisfactory.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, I have a dog bite and
yes, ma'am.
couch.
So after I said no to the 2 roommates, one didn't have a job, they looked young, I said no. I went back home. 10 minutes later, Adrian.
Home? You mean to your folks'
To our
house?
apartment.
Oh, to your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So 10 minutes later, Adrian comes in. I was in the room with my door locked. I hear Adrian yelling. I hear her throwing things. She's saying, I can't believe you did that. You really just did that. I don't care. I'm still moving out. I'm still leaving. I'm not paying rent. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't come out the room because last time it got crazy, so I just said I would let her do what she does, and I will let the authorities handle it.
She did come out the room, Your Honor.
When I finally came out the room, which I have a video, and came out, she had moved the couch in front of the door so I couldn't get out of my room. And
well, how did you get out?
I jumped over it. And the trash can was flipped upside down. I have pictures of all the damage that she did to the house and videos.
Well, I'd like to see them, please. And I would like to see the damage to the couch, which is your major complaint.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the damages, and then I have a video of the entire incident right here.
Caption coming up.
Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
Later.
So at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told him he couldn't come over, never told him he couldn't be a part of anything.
It's a failed business venture where you both expect.
It's not a
hey,
business venture.
this is not a tea dance.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brooke and Adrian.
Brooke Batiste claims her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, owes for couch damage and a dog attack.
By the way, did you have any unreimbursed medical bills as a result of this dog bite? That's either a yes or a no.
No, ma'am.
Judy reviews a photo of a damaged couch.
When did you purchase this couch?
I purchased it the day we moved in, so it was October 7th.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,200 in total, and Adrian and I were paying on it a little bit in the beginning, but there came a time where we had to make the final payment on it, which was $1,200. When we had the argument, she didn't pay anything, so I had to pay it all by myself, and the couch is in my name.
Did the couch remain?
Yes, ma'am. The couch is at the house.
What does it look like now?
It's black, but there's it's an odor coming from the couch, and there's some stains on it.
Do you have a picture of it, what it looks like now?
No, ma'am. I just have the pictures that I gave you.
Okay, but you're still using the sofa.
The
answer
it's
is
a smell. No, ma'am. I don't sit on it anymore because there's a smell.
So why don't you get rid of it out of the apartment?
I'm moving October 6th, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
But you've been using it since April.
It's just been sitting there, Your Honor. I haven't had
sitting
time.
in your apartment since April.
Yes, ma'am.
April, May, June.
I just haven't made the time to get rid of it because I know I'm moving soon, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
I wouldn't keep something in my house that smelled.
I work a lot, and
Would you please show this to the defendant?
Judy hands the photo to Kevin, who brings it to Adrian. She reviews it, then hands it back to Kevin, who returns it to Judy.
Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
You can get a napkin and wipe it off. But that's my couch too. Maybe I didn't pay the whole thing on it, but I've made payments on that couch, and I decided not to do that full payment that she did, which was $600, because she was irresponsible and decided to rent a couch and found out that that couch was whatever amount. I made payments on that couch, and I have proof for it.
That's okay. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
At all. You had no right to do that.
Right.
Because that devalued the sofa.
I agree.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm actually finished with you.
Your Honor, can we please go back over the lease portion of this?
No.
Can my mom speak about what happened?
No, I said no. When there's that kind of acrimony, I actually think that before somebody gets seriously injured, when you have 2 large dogs and 2 people with hot tempers that can do this, it's a very, very good thing that they no longer live together.
Being stuck with a rent and
Just a second. I've just answered you. This is not a back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
On the dog bite, I am awarding you $1,000. It looks as if part of it was a black and blue mark. Certainly, I can't blame the dog for trying to protect its owner, but she's supposed to have control of her dog all the time.
And she shouldn't start arguing.
This is not a tea dance. I'm not asking you anything. And I'm awarding you $1,200 for the sofa. That's $2,200. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
Brooke.
She just did something messed up, and I cut her off, and she didn't like it.
I literally cut her off. She's just mad that she's cut off.
She's delusional. She's delusional.
She's childish, she's irresponsible, and I was just sick of dealing with someone draining.
Just don't get roommates with your friends. Just move in by yourself.
I'm happy.
Judy and Sarah.
You had a question about the lease.
I did. So I agree that it was best for the acrimonious situation for them to separate and not to live there. So I understand your judgment saying it was better for you. You got the good end of the stick on that she left. However, the law, if you breach a lease, she did get stuck with a higher portion of rent because her roommate, although a negative situation that should have probably ended right when it did, she was stuck paying her half as well. So I thought you should have at least heard her claim on the breach of a lease, because then anyone could just say, oh, well, I don't like the situation and I feel like leaving would be a better thing, and stick their roommate with their portion of the rent, and that's not what the law says.
Well, that's true, except that this wasn't just a situation where parties weren't getting along. There's no question that she was nipped by the defendant's dog. Well, I wouldn't want to stay in that situation anyway.
Well, that would give her the right to maybe leave without paying her half of the rent, but that's not what happened.
It's also sort of acknowledged that the defendant brought 2 other people to take over her piece of rent. And it was in the papers, and the plaintiff did not...
She did say that she was the one that said no.
She said, I don't want those 2 people. Well, then the onus really falls on her to mitigate her damages. And she had no proof that she went forward to try to get another roommate. Between the 2 of them, they may have had an agreement, but the dispute over rent really is the defendants and the landlords. She doesn't pay her rent, and if the plaintiff pays her half of the rent, the landlord is free to go against either or both of them.
Sure, because both their names were on
the lease.
Understood.
Case 2083, David versus Baroon. All parties, please step forward.
Joseph David is suing his former friend, Jonathan Borum, for podcast equipment.
Mr. David, your claim that the defendant has acoustical equipment that you purchased for what looks to be a joint venture in Mr. Borum's music podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
You were making this music podcast in the basement of your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Starting in what year?
This year of March.
And Mr. David, you were friends, you knew each other, and you knew he was in this business. I don't know, what is your business?
I deliver bread. I'm a bread vendor.
What kind of interest do you have in music? Because that's what he was doing.
Well, me and Jonathan have known each other for 20 years.
Jonathan and I have known each other.
Jonathan and I have known each other for 20 years, and he's always been in the music scene. He's an artist himself.
Well, that's what I gather. What about you?
I was just a supportive friend in it.
Okay, well, clearly you spent some money on music equipment, so it was more than being a supportive friend. If you were just being a supportive friend, then you made a gift to him of this music equipment.
No, ma'am.
You decided you wanted to be part of this music podcast. That's what you said.
Correct.
When did you make that decision?
Sometime mid-June, after I had...
June of this year?
This year, correct. I had received a small amount of money, and I was able to...
From where?
A settlement from
From
an
what?
injury, car accident.
Okay, how much did you receive?
A little under 50 grand. And I seen an opportunity for me to invest and help out and help a friend and be able to invest into something that if we blew up one day, I could receive, royalties from and money back in return. And
did you have a written agreement with him?
We did not have a written agreement.
Well, I'd like to know what the agreement was.
So he was also in the car accident with me as well. And so he's got a settlement coming. He told me, this was all verbal, that once he received that money, he would pay me back at least half of the equipment.
So you would have a joint venture and he would pay you for half the equipment you purchased?
This was at the beginning, correct.
Do you remember, Mr. Borum, that conversation?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Were you in the automobile accident with him?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
You did not receive a settlement. Is there any reason?
We're still going through the court process.
Okay, so you're going to trial.
Actually, that's what it was set to go to trial because I didn't get the offer that my lawyer put in. So it's going to trial on my side, but on his behalf.
No, he's already
Yeah.
settled his case.
Yeah, mine's not settled yet.
Okay. You indicate what you want is your equipment back.
No, I'd like the money back.
No, well, you get your equipment back if it's yours.
I want the money. I don't trust that he will give me the equipment back in good condition.
Let me explain this to you, Mr. David. If that's what you want, then I'm going to let you withdraw this case and go back to small claims court. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice, which will allow you to go back to your small claims court, or do you wish to proceed with it today?
I wish to proceed.
Great.
Caption coming up.
Why did you say I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me, and I told him.
What was he yelling at you?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said,
Just a second, Mr. Borum, this is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me, did you think the product was up to par?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Joseph and Jonathan.
Joseph David claims his former friend, Jonathan Borum, is wrongfully keeping his podcast equipment.
So, when you decided to enter this, according to you, agreement, that you would be in a joint venture, when he got his money, he would pay in his half of what the equipment costs, which you indicate, I think, is about $4,400.
Correct.
What I gather is there was a session set up that was supposed to take place in your basement.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
I believe it was around like early June-ish.
Okay. And you have proof of the value of the equipment, I assume,
Correct.
and exactly what equipment there is.
Correct.
Is there, Mr. Borum, a dispute about what equipment he purchased?
Is there a dispute? Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
because he has a receipt. I just want to know if I have to go into this.
Well, on the receipt, he purchased it on his card, but we're friends. We were going in together, so he bought it on his card because he had the money.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, Mr. Borum. I'm asking you
fine.
whether there is an agreement as to what the pieces he purchased on his card.
Yes, ma'am. As far as the agreement, I'm not understanding the question.
Okay. What pieces of equipment did he buy that's in your basement?
Cameras,
Camera,
cords,
cord,
and probably the Black Magic.
Black Magic?
Black Magic, yes, ma'am. It's a device that works.
Do you know what he's talking about?
I do.
Anything else that's down there that you purchased other than those 3 items?
Yes, ma'am. In total.
What? Shh, look at me. Tell me what else.
In total, there's 2 Panasonic cameras.
Are there 2 cameras
Yes,
that he
ma'am.
purchased? 2 cameras.
Can I look down for?
I can't hear you if you're mumbling.
There's lighting, 3 lights. There's
3 lights. Did he purchase 3 lights?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
wireless mics.
How many?
It's a set of 2.
Did he purchase those?
Yes, ma'am. And not to correct you, but we purchased those.
No, you didn't pay for it.
I gave him the money.
Just a second.
I gave him cash.
Oh, you did? Well, you're going to show me proof of that in a moment.
Well, I don't have proof that I gave him cash. No, ma'am. Because we were friends, so.
Just a second.
Okay.
You have no proof? Did he give you cash?
No, ma'am. He never gave me a dollar.
Fine.
Not a penny.
Okay,
at a
let's
time.
go. We have 3 lights, 2 mics. What else?
HDMI cord.
He has a cord.
Blackmagic ATEM.
He has that.
Picture, 256 gigabyte SD card.
What is that?
Memory card.
It's a $50 memory card. It adds up.
Let's go.
The card reader, 20-foot cables, a stencil, and a table.
Just a second. A stencil and a table. Describe that.
It's for the logo that we made for the podcast. I purchased the stencil for the logo.
How much did you pay for that?
Between that and the table is $80.
Let's stay with the big ticket items, sir, Henry.
I was adding
Great.
everything.
Okay. Are we finished with the list?
Yep, that's all.
Very good. How much did you pay for these things minus the $50 card in total? Show me.
Minus the $50.
Yeah.
$43.50.
Okay. And all of that is in your basement now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened, according to what I read, there was a music session scheduled. And at the time that there was a music session scheduled, your daughter had COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
She lives on top of the house. Okay. And how old is she?
That was in July. She's 10 months now, so probably about 8 months.
Okay. And she's cared for by both you and your wife. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather, Mr. David, that when you found out that there was COVID in the house, you didn't want to go into the basement.
Correct.
And that was sometime in June.
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me about that conversation?
Well, he told me that she had COVID And then he said that his fiance may possibly have it, and he may possibly have it. He even took off work, and I filled in for him at work for 3 days because he may have had COVID or not, and he said he wasn't
Well, he
feeling
wasn't. He
well.
didn't want to go in and risk it.
Correct. So I told him I do not want to continue with this interview. He said he would continue on.
You mean
with
the interview that was supposed to take place in the
Correct.
basement?
Correct.
How much after, Mr. David, did you find out that the infant had COVID and that Mr. Borum and his wife were both exposed? Was the video podcast supposed to be made in the basement?
2-3 days.
Is that correct, Mr. Borum?
From anywhere between 2 to 5 days, ma'am.
And when Mr. David told you he didn't feel comfortable coming into the house, what did you say to him?
I said, okay, I would have someone else fill in his position because I understood why he didn't want to come over.
Okay, and did you have someone fill in his position?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Borum?
The episode got done, and it wasn't up to par with Joseph's standards. So
And?
that's when the argument begun.
Okay, and the argument was what?
The argument was the guy didn't do it right, so it was a lot of bickering. So I told Joe, you know, I just do the editing myself. And he took that as I was cutting him out.
Okay, so he was supposed to do the editing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why did you say, I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me, and I told him...
What was he yelling at you about?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said...
Just a second, Mr. Borum, this is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me, did you think the product was up to par?
I did, but I thought it was up to par, but I took his recommendation because I brought him in for production. So I was like, okay, if you don't feel like it's up to par, let's figure it out. But then we kept going back and forth. So at that moment, I was like, you know what, I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation. Because you didn't want to tell the guy what he did wrong. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told him he couldn't come over, never told him he couldn't be a part of anything. I just told him I wasn't going back and forth because that's why I brought you in for that.
May I see the credit card statement from the purchase of this equipment? And Mr. Borum, I want to see where you took out $2,200 from in cash. I want to see where you took. You said you paid him half.
$2,200. I didn't pay half.
Well, what'd you pay?
I never stated that I paid half.
Shh. If you're partners, that's what you have to pay. How much did you give him?
I gave him money here and there, like on all the...
That doesn't help. That doesn't help me, sir. That doesn't help me. These are bank statements.
I didn't think I had to keep a record if we was best friends for 15 years. That's just...
I can't help you, sir. I can't help you if you say you paid a little bit here and there. I can't help you with that.
Never gave me a dime.
So when you state that if you're a friend, you're doing this to help me out as a gift for what I got going on,
Never a gift.
and then you try to bring it and take it back from me.
Mr. Borum, how many podcasts have you made since June?
Since June?
Yeah.
I believe we on episode 15, 16, something like that.
15, 16. Successfully.
Yes, ma'am.
And you intend to do this for profit?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you so far seen any profit?
Not as now, because you know you gotta build up.
Just a second. So not as of yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your wife work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have two incomes in the house.
Right.
And this is a side job for you.
Correct.
But you have to buy your own equipment because he's coming to get his equipment. That's going to be the court's order.
So if
it's his equipment. It's his equipment. The equipment
so he can't
that
gift it to me. That's what he told me he was doing because we was friends. And he appreciated what I was doing.
This is why we're here.
Right.
And now I heard you, and I heard him, and now I'm ruling. I am making an order that he, within 5 days of today, with a marshal or a sheriff, will come and pick up his equipment.
So you giving him my equipment back is tarnishing what I got going on.
I'm giving him his equipment back.
But he never used it, though.
I don't care whether he used it or not. It was a failed business venture where you both expect.
It's not a business venture.
This is not a tea dance. He's getting back his equipment. You and your wife have a side business going. Go buy equipment. Do you understand? 5 days, wait outside. You'll get a copy of my order. You can go get your equipment. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
A 15-year friendship, obviously it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Eventually, you see the real person in somebody. That's all I can say.
You could be friends with somebody 100 years, and they gonna change.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had a good friend for a while, but really...
Man, the show gonna go on, man. Y'all know, make sure y'all watch, tune in.
I was just tolerating a really bad person.
I've had understandings with my friends similar to what the plaintiff and defendant has. One of my friends will stay in my apartment from time to time for a few nights, and I always make sure, because you never want a holdover tenant or a friend staying longer than you had anticipated, and I'll text and I'll say, okay, you're good to stay there Thursday and Friday night. Let me know if there's any problems, but you got to be gone by 9 a.m. on Saturday. Just to memorialize the understanding that I think I have, even with friends. It's just always smart to have some sort of record of a business and understanding. a trade-off. I just think that it's good practice, to, even if it's just a text, something to memorialize what you believe the understanding to be.
I agree with you. Yeah. And that would make my job easy, but would eliminate this TV program.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go business owner Amber Howard for damages and defamation to her pet daycare business.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2173, Langley versus Howard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Langley, your complaint states that you live in a rural area, 13 acres. Your business is pet sitting.
Correct.
The property that you own does not have running water.
Correct.
So all the water for your property has to be trucked in.
Yes.
The defendant is the owner of?
The owner's wife.
The same thing. They own a water business where they deliver by truck massive amounts of water, and you had used them for a period of time. Prior to Labor Day of 2021, when this incident occurred, how long have you been using the defendants?
Probably about a year.
And how often do they deliver water to your property?
4 times a week. Usually 3 times for the pool and once for the house.
Okay. And each time they came, was that on a set time during the week?
We tried to get a set time, but it varied quite often.
Okay. Would they call before they came?
No.
For the year that you had them, when they came, did you pay them at the time that they came?
Yes, I did. Oftentimes we paid in advance. So we paid for the
you
entire
either paid
week.
in advance or you paid at the time of the delivery?
Yes.
Did you give them a check or cash?
Check.
Now let's get to Labor Day 2021. On what day were they supposed to come?
I believe it was the 4th of September. It was on a Friday.
And who was at home to accept the delivery?
We didn't know when they were coming, but I had taken my employee out to lunch, and I called my nephew, who was there holding down the fort, and told him if they deliver water, let them know I forgot the check, so they can either deliver or come back later.
Well, you live in a rural area. Coming back later is a big inconvenience because you forgot the check.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it happened that it was a big inconvenience because you went out for lunch and you left a nephew. They came, the check wasn't there, and they left with the water. Now, what time did you come?
I wasn't the one who delivered the water. It was my husband, but I believe he had came.
No, he'll tell me.
Oh, okay.
So this was about a year and a half ago. I don't remember the exact time, but it was an AM delivery because we were going out of town Friday evening, going up north. So I was trying to get done with our route fairly early so that we could get out.
So the first time you came to the house was in the morning?
That's correct.
Not lunchtime?
No, it was probably somewhere around 10 a.m. if I was to guess.
Okay. And when you got there that one time, the nephew was there?
That's correct.
And tell me what happened.
Well, the nephew, for starters, is about 12 years old, and the reason why we don't necessarily have a time frame for businesses is because if it's between business hours, when we show up and if they need water, usually that shouldn't be an issue for the business.
Don't give me a whole story, sir. The nephew was 12 years old, okay, and he was left in charge of the pets.
That's correct.
Okay, so the nephew was left in charge of these animals, and when you came, there was no check. What happened?
It wasn't even about the money, the reason why I left. The reason why I showed up there is he was talking on the phone, and he said, we are not ready for water right now.
He was on his phone?
Yes.
Where did this conversation take place?
Near the pool, the dog pool. And we were actually taking 4,000 gallons. So I brought my big truck. I'd bring 2,000 for the doggy pool and then 2,000 for the house because it was a holiday weekend, so I had to make sure that we got him enough water to last through the holiday weekend.
Okay, and I assume that the plaintiff was satisfied with your service because she had continued with your service for over a year.
Yes, that's correct.
That's according to you. That's according to you. You had been satisfied with their service because if you weren't, you would have found somebody else. But you had been satisfied with their service. According to you, you paid them in advance or on the date of the delivery. On Labor Day, September 4th, you left your 12-year-old nephew there.
12, but...
Well, how old is he, 13?
He's 15.
So what? What's the difference?
Okay, I'm just
well, maybe he's 15 now. Maybe he wasn't in 2021. So the nephew said to you, we're not ready for water delivery now.
That's
Is that what you're saying? Now, your business have a phone?
Correct.
Did the plaintiff ever call you and say, I'm home now, I'm sorry, there was a mix-up?
No, so what happened, I showed up there, he wasn't ready for water. I told him, I go, that is...
What do you have to do to get ready for water?
For their purposes, I believe it was to try to use up as much as they can.
No, don't tell me what you believe. I want to know what you have to do to get ready for a water delivery. Do you have to open up a spigot? What do you have to do?
Okay, so basically they're holding tanks that are in basements or in the ground. So normally nobody even has to be there, 90% of our customers. This particular case, one of their tanks is in a basement which doesn't have an alarm. So in order to fill their tank up, somebody has to be down there with a radio to radio up to us to know when to shut the water off.
Okay, so that would have had to have been the nephew who was between the ages of 12 and 15, would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
Okay. And when you came onto the property, he said, we're not ready for a water delivery.
That's correct.
And he would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
So you left?
Yes, correct.
What happened next?
Your Honor, I told him that it's not that big of a deal. I got a few more stops. I'm gonna go do those stops and then I'll come back. And then hopefully you'll be ready and your aunt would be ready for water at that time. So I went and did my 2 stops. So I used up another 4,000 gallons. I filled back up, went back to their house. At this time, it was probably somewhere around 12. And again, he said, we're still not ready for water.
So you went back again at noon?
Between 12 and 1, I would say.
And the plaintiff wasn't home?
That's correct, again.
How many hours passed between the first delivery and the second?
It takes me about 45 minutes per stop, and I know I did about 2 stops, so about an hour and a half it took me before I was back there.
And for that hour and a half, she didn't come back. So it was either a very late breakfast or a very early lunch?
That's correct.
Okay, so now they go twice to deliver water to you, and you're not there, and neither is your check. So now you tell me what happened next.
Kyle called me. First, he doesn't have a phone, but we do have a business line. So he called me on the business line and told me that the driver just left. He goes, I don't know where he went. He said, I think
Who told?
Kyle.
Who was that?
I'm sorry, he's my nephew.
Your nephew called you. What time?
Well, our lunch is...
What? You went
can't tell
before
you.
lunch because he was there earlier in the morning.
We did not go before lunch. We went 12:30 to 2. The dogs always nap 12:30 to 2. Okay. We separated the dogs.
How many times did they?
We were
how many
5 minutes.
How many times did they come to your house to deliver water?
According to what I was told, I wasn't there. 2.
Well, that's what he says. He came twice. We haven't gotten to the third yet, but he came twice to your house and you weren't there.
Correct.
You're supposed to wait for a service. You're supposed to be there ready for the service. That would be on you. That's not on them, that's on you. They came when they were supposed to deliver water, and you weren't there, and you left somebody who was not equipped to deal with the situation in charge. And what happened was you didn't have water, potentially, over the holiday weekend because they were going away, so you had to scurry to find other water.
Correct.
That's what this case is about.
Caption, coming up.
If your preteen or post-teen nephew was on the telephone, didn't want to be bothered at that moment, that ain't his fault. That's your fault that you left somebody incompetent when you were supposed to get a water delivery. All I'm saying to you is, this is nasty a year later. Nasty.
Brenda smiles. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brenda and Amber and her husband.
Brenda Langley claims business owner Amber Howard defamed her pet daycare business. Amber is countersuing for negative reviews Brenda made toward her business.
Okay, so according to you, a year later, you heard something about their business, so you wrote a negative something about their business on the internet. You'll tell me what that is in a moment. And in retaliation for that, they posted a negative comment about your business, alleging something that had to do with the animals. So that's what this case is about. Your use of the internet to make trouble. You, a year later, according to you, only posted 1 negative review, is that right?
Correct.
And that was a year later?
Yes. Do you want me to tell you why? Because they take the reviews down. You can't leave it.
All I'm
away.
asking you is, I don't want to hear shoulda, woulda, coulda. A year later, you posted a negative review about them. So I'd like to see the review and why you waited a year. You had had a full year of positive service from these people, and the day that you had a problem with them was your fault. I just determined that. It was your fault.
Okay.
So I want to see what you said about them.
Brenda produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Miss Langley, so I read this thing. It says, funny how this shows up as a recommendation. Apparently, they took the rating system off their page. They were always shorting us on water for the pool. Well, you used them satisfactorily for a year. So I think that that's baloney.
We had a couple run-ins over it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. What is that about? Once when you complained about what?
About the pool being short on water.
Just what did your nephew have to do with them? Your nephew is hardly a teenager. What did your nephew have to do with discussing
Nothing,
things
really.
with the bro?
Nothing. He
Nothing.
would help them sometimes bring the hose in and things like that, but he was just a helper every once in a while.
Well, what does that mean?
He didn't have anything to do with it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. Video surveillance proved he was lying. No one ever approached him and no one spoke to him. I showed the owner the video and he didn't seem to care. The last straw was when the owner, that would be them, left for a holiday weekend and we had no water and low pool water. Well, that would be your fault. You don't say that here. It just makes it appear as if they left and left you high and dry, but they came at least twice, he's going to tell me a third time probably, to deliver water, and you weren't there. When my nephew asked if we could pay next week, he got in his truck and left. That's also your fault.
If you would have communicated, I could have brought the money. We were 5 minutes away.
Just a second. That puts the onus on them. Why weren't you there? This is all on you. This isn't on them. No conversation, no phone call, not even a curse word. I called his wife to find out what happened, and she said they were going out of town for the weekend. And you put in parentheses, too bad. Well, you're allowed to go out. You're allowed to go out for lunch when their delivery is coming without a check, but they're not allowed to go out for Labor Day for the weekend. I immediately called a competitor to bail us out. Thank God he took mercy on us and came out right away. We have had excellent service with the competitor ever since. It could have been catastrophic to try not just to live, but run a business with no water over the holiday weekend. You should have been home to get your delivery. And so,
can I say something?
Sure.
I always paid. They knew I was good for the money, and nobody has to be there when they deliver water. We don't watch them deliver water, except for maybe in the house, and Kyle was there to receive it.
Just a second. He just told me that one of the water tanks is in the basement. Somebody has to be there in the basement in your house. If your preteen or post-teen nephew was on the telephone, didn't want to be bothered at that moment, that ain't his fault. That's your fault that you left somebody incompetent when you were supposed to get a water delivery. All I'm saying to you is, this is nasty a year later. Nasty. And for no reason. I don't hear a reason why this a year later. You want to tell me?
I had heard about some bad business practices, so it got me upset again. So I decided to look and find a way to put a review on. They had taken their reviews off the page. So immediately I wanted to put a review on there, but they have it down as a recommendation.
Who cares?
So that's when I left.
I just still don't understand why a year later you stir this up. So for a year, you were getting water from a competitor. You cut off their system. They seem to be still surviving. You're still in business?
Yes. Yeah.
They're in business without you. You're in business without them.
Right.
Okay. So this is nasty. Okay. Now, as a result of being nasty, they wrote a review about you, which is why you're here.
Yes.
About your business.
Yes.
May I see that review?
About her statement saying that she only gave us one bad review, we have proof that we have multiple bad reviews, not just the one, over that course of a year and a half.
May I see, and I'd like to see them. Did you write more than one negative review? Okay, I'm going to take a look at them.
That's what I posted.
Amber produces a document.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is what I posted right here. I gave you the wrong copy.
She hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy for review.
Oh, well, this is a different one where you say last water haulers suggested we had to kiss whatever or they would not show. They rarely answered a call or a text in a timely manner. I was even late to a party posted at my home. I had zero water and couldn't shower, couldn't get in touch with anybody. The last straw was Friday. They dropped us on a holiday weekend and said that they would see us on Tuesday.
I don't think that was a review, Your Honor.
Was this not a review?
I don't believe so.
No, it wasn't a review. It was a comment.
Yep.
It was a comment. Mm-hmm. It was still out there, alive, out there.
Caption, coming up.
So it was really a tit for tat. You got
Correct.
tired.
She wrote that review on my page, so I decided to write a true review about her page.
Perfect. So did I get that all right? Good. A pox on both your houses.
Brenda and Amber grin. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brenda and Amber and her husband.
Brenda Langley has accused business owner Amber Howard of defaming her pet daycare business. Amber claims Brenda created negative reviews a year after their dispute ended.
I'm looking to see what you posted about her.
He's got it.
You go, Judge.
Kevin hands a document to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay. So you posted this on October the 30th, and this is on a Facebook?
Yes.
We used to supply water for the puppy pool here 3 times a week, and our drivers witnessed on multiple occasions the staff mistreating dogs in their care. They would see on multiple occasions dog feces in the pool before they would fill it up. We were going to send our dog there before we knew all this, but I told our dog was too small and they could not accommodate him. Now that I know the kind of business they run, I'm thankful I kept my pet out of their care. I would think twice before sending your beloved pet there. And then Lucky Puppy, that would be you. Funny, I just gave you a poor review on your page. The difference is our review was true. Your review is defamation of character. You can remove your untrue statements or you can be sued. Your choice. So now I'm going to ask you sort of the same question. The incident happened on Labor Day of 2021. October 30th, and that would be of 2022?
Correct.
So between the time that they ceased to be customers of yours and a year later, what happened that caused you to write this negative review?
So as you can see in the evidence I gave you, she all the time was just saying negative things about our business. We never had said anything about
so it
her
was,
business.
just a second. So the answer was, it was tit for tat.
Correct.
It was tit for tat. She was writing negative reviews about your business. So you wrote, which I just determined were untrue. So you wrote a negative review about her business.
Correct.
A year later. I mean, if you were really concerned about the pets, you would have written it immediately. So it was really a tit for tat. You got tired?
She wrote that review on my page, so I decided to write a true review about her page.
Perfect. So did I get that all right? Good. A pox on both your houses.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
So what she accused us of is illegal.
Just a second.
We have to keep sanitary conditions, and we have
Just a second. How do I know that one of their drivers didn't report seeing feces in the pool? How do I know that?
I've been there before and asked them why they didn't need water that currently week, you know, that they're going to need it, the 2,000 gallons on Wednesday like they normally do. And he said we just had to get the dogs out just because we realized there was feces in there. They said it happens a few times a year. So it was not a statement.
Whatever. It's their business, madam. Just like this is your business. If you run a dirty place,
I don't know. That's the whole thing.
Just a second.
My statements were true. Theirs were untrue.
Well, they don't run an irresponsible business. In your reviews, you're suggesting that they are irresponsible and also thieves, because in one of your reviews, you say they were shorting us on water.
Yes, they were.
That's what you say. And you said it not only a year later, you said it during the course of the year. And it was their business. Their business is as important to them as yours is to you. So if you're going to weaponize these reviews, then you both deserve what you got. You're not supposed to do that. If you were legitimately concerned about the dogs, you would have reported it right away. What this was tit for tat, so you deserve each other. Claim and counterclaim are dismissed. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Brenda, then Amber and her husband.
My thing was that they accused us of breaking the law, and it was totally untrue. My statements were true. Whether they were in the wrong or not, they were true statements, and hers were complete fabrication.
I mean, we had been dealing with it for about a year and a half, so I was just really shocked when I received the paperwork in the mail, since I did delete the review, since she did threaten to sue me, so I did delete it.
Look at reviews, and if you can't find them, go somewhere else.
I wanted both of us to be successful businesses because we live in a small community and our businesses do not, we're not in direct competition with each other. So I wish her well, and I would hope she would wish our business well.
Judy and Sarah.
People like me just learn to look at a restaurant and see what the reviews are. And you sort of assume that people of goodwill, if they're going to post something that's negative, it's because they had a negative experience. And I think it's such a shame that it's become a way to weaponize legitimate reviews where somebody, the plaintiff in this case, had absolutely no clue that the problem on Labor Day was her fault.
Yeah.
She had a perfectly reasonable relationship with him for over a year. She said they paid him in advance. She never said anything about shorting water.
It's just the power of the internet. I mean, now today, I know there are people that will cancel businesses for reasons completely unrelated to the business, but if you act out, you say the wrong thing, you display a negative character trait in public, people will go to your business's page completely unrelated to anything in the business and just flood the page. I'm talking thousands. They will get thousands of people to write bad reviews about a business, especially if something went viral or if the owners of the business, if they were in a viral video that was not nice. It's the power of the internet and cancel culture.
Well, the internet can be a tool for good and wonderful, or as we know, it can be a very dark place.
Yep.
But it can't be a very dark place without mean-spirited or bad people.
Yep.
And there are mean-spirited and bad people. I don't know how you protect yourself from something like that. I really don't know how you protect yourself.
The consumer has to be smart in reading the reviews and how much weight they're giving reviews. I like when businesses respond to especially the negative reviews. And sometimes they're funny because if the defendants had responded to the plaintiff's review publicly, so people like you and I who were thinking about using them for water delivery could see it, they'd say, oh, interesting. We called twice and you weren't home and you didn't have our money.
That's the response.
And so I like to see that because it calls out the person who left the negative review. But obviously there's downsides to a business. You don't want to get into a back and forth with every person that leaves a negative review. But sometimes when it's warranted,
you respond to it. But the response isn't to post a negative review about you.
Exactly.
You're right.
Title: Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Is suing her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, for the cost of a car and childcare.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy at the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2195, Sherrod versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Desiree.
Ms. Surratt, you and Mr. Vasquez were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children together. How old are the children?
I have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 8.
How long did you and Mr. Vasquez live together, if you did live together?
It was a lot of off and on, so I would say maybe a combined time of 8 years.
And does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that correct?
As far as I knew, that she had a great relationship with me.
When was the last time you saw your daughter, sir?
We spoke just a couple of days ago. She has more time with friends now, but I do speak with her on a frequent basis.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you wait outside? Okay? Because, Ms. Surratt, I don't believe in, unless it's absolutely necessary, and certainly in this situation, it doesn't sound to me as if it's absolutely necessary to have your teenage daughter as a witness over a couple of $1,000s, which you may or may not be entitled to. Certainly, her father is in touch with her. She said he's in touch with her, which means that they communicate and that they have a relationship. Because I read the complaint and I read the answer, and I have a few basic questions. You're suing Mr. Vasquez, who you haven't lived with in many, many years, but who you share, according to what I've read here, joint legal and physical custody. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
And when was that court order made?
I have a copy of it, so I can tell you.
2011, Your Honor. 2011.
Was there a trial, Mr. Vasquez?
There was a trial, Your Honor, yeah.
Were you represented by counsel?
I represented myself.
And what about the plaintiff? Did she have a lawyer?
She did, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a copy of that order.
It's from 2017.
Well, there was one in 2011.
This is the original one. It hasn't changed since then. We have parenting and legal custody, and a child support order, which is separate.
Judy reviews a document.
Jose, the 2016 order, the ex parte order, originally granted Mr. Vasquez custody of the children. Yes, you were the respondent in that case. It said on October 28, 2016, petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, filed a motion to establish custody and parenting time. The petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, seeks joint legal and physical custody. The petitioner also sought an order granting sole legal custody of the children based upon the allegations that his daughter was watching his son without supervision for extended periods of time and that his daughter was not attending school. Child Protective Services did an investigation and actually found that you were not sending your daughter to school.
Correct.
And she was staying home and she was babysitting. Okay. Would you tell me, without my having to go through this whole thing, was there a child support order entered?
Yes.
Ultimately, and ultimately the children remained with you?
Correct.
The final order. And what was the child support order?
The child support order initially was $93 a month. I think I have a copy of it. And then to increase based off cost of living adjustments every year.
Is that $93 a month for both children?
For both children,
okay.
Yes.
The order was ultimately increased. How much do you pay in child support now, sir?
$230 a month, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, that's not the order.
Well, I asked how much you pay. Were you ever in arrears of payment?
I was at one point, and then I caught up, so I've been caught up.
Well, they're catching up, so that $230 may be partly arrears. What is the order?
Oh, I'm completely caught up with my child support.
So the current order that you're paying is $230 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is what you're suing for. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez agreed to pay half of certain sporting fees that the children had that are not contained in the child support order, and he didn't. So you're suing him for that, and he says that you never had such an agreement, that you enrolled the children in sporting activities, and then came to him and said, do you owe me half? Am I reading that correctly?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's your position?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on to the plaintiff's position that you wanted to change the child support order to not what he was paying, but what he was paying, and half of their sporting activities.
We actually had a verbal agreement.
Well, I'd like you to tell me when that took place, what you said to him, and what he said to you. So tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
Caption coming up.
Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money. Certainly wasn't today, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, if we can arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Desiree and Curtis.
Desiree Surratt claims her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, owes for the cost of a car and childcare. Curtis is countersuing for car repairs and vacation expenses.
Tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
At your home?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the conversation. What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I don't remember the exact words, but...
Well, that's why we bring these things quickly, because now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was basically, well, he wants to play this sport, Angelina wants to do track, this is how much it's going to cost, and his response was just, okay, let me know how much it is, and I'll pay half.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not quite correct. We don't have just conversation. We don't have any conversation at all. We communicate via text, and I rarely get a response. I've taken care of...
Just a second. We're talking about this one instance.
Okay.
She said that you had a conversation with her where you agreed to pay half of their sporting events. Based on that, I assume that you enrolled the children in the sporting events, paid the fee, and then said to him, this is your half. And he said, I'm not paying that half.
That's not correct, Your Honor. I didn't agree to pay half.
No, I'm not saying you agreed to pay half. That's what her position is.
I actually enrolled my son into soccer.
When?
It was this summer in July. And he was supposed to go for a month, and she took the kids out of the state without my knowledge for an extended vacation. And so I didn't have her pay half of that. And when she came back, she wanted to make that up to him. But that's without my knowledge.
Okay. How much did you pay for soccer?
$75.
So you never had a conversation with her about paying half of this? And it was never reduced to a modified order of the court because you have a court order for support. Okay. So I'm eliminating that. You want to change the order of support, you have to change it in court. Now let's move on to the second thing that you think that he owes you for. Cell phone. Let's hear about the cell phone.
He opened a cell phone account for my daughter.
When?
I don't know when it was.
When did you open a cell phone account, sir?
About 7 years ago.
And he paid it? He opened an account and he paid it?
Him or his dad. It was a business account.
I don't care.
I don't know
You
if he
didn't
paid
pay it.
Correct. I didn't
You didn't pay it. So your daughter has had a cell phone for the last 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you didn't see the bills for it?
Correct.
Okay, so he paid it?
Somebody paid it, yes. Yeah.
He paid it?
I paid it, Your Honor.
You didn't pay it?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want money for a cell phone. For what?
Just for the last 6 months that I paid. I never agreed to, so I'm just asking for
Then
half
take
of
the
that.
phone away.
Well, she's 15. She's got
I
a
understand
job
that.
and
I understand that. Who bought her the phone?
I bought the phone.
Okay. And how many years ago did you buy the phone?
It was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And it was paid for on his plan?
No, I paid for the phone cash.
No. The bills, ongoing bills, were paid for by him and the phone that you bought her 1.5 years ago, because you said you've been paying the bills for 6 months.
Yep.
Is that correct? Whitney, didn't you say I've been paying the bills for the last 6 months?
Yes. Correct.
Well, so when you first got the phone for a year, he was paying the bills.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he was paying the bills for 7 years, but certainly after you bought the phone. But prior to that, she had a different phone. She had to have had a different phone because he was paying the phone bills for 6 years. Who bought that phone?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I purchased that phone. It was the iPhone XR.
Okay. So you bought the first phone, you bought a second phone. Very nice. And he paid the bills, the phone bills for 6 years, and you paid it for the last 6 months. It's not part of a court order. If you agreed to do that, you agreed to do that. What are you getting courts involved for?
I never agreed to pay the cell phone.
Well, he never agreed to pay his cell phone when she was 13 or 12. Your parents. He paid it for a long time. Now you're paying it. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a realtor.
You work in a family business?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the family business.
It's children first and foremost, you know, what's best for them.
No, the family business, sir.
Oh, the family business.
You're in real estate. Is it a family business?
It is not a family business.
It's just yours. And you've been in real estate for how long?
For about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was in sales. That is a family business, and it's real estate marketing.
That's a family business.
That's family business.
You're not involved with that anymore. You still are?
Yes.
Who owns that business?
Dad.
Your father?
He does, yes.
How many employees do you have?
Just about 10, Your Honor.
So your father employs 10 people and you're one of them?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And what does your father pay you annually?
Oh, it's commission only, so no benefits.
And in the other real estate operation, do you have your own office or do you operate out of your father's office?
My own office.
Where?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Do you have any employees?
I don't.
So you work for your father on commission and yourself?
Commission only as well in the real estate market.
Okay. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
Is there any reason for that?
Just late. Just over.
You're late. You're a year late.
Yeah.
What about the year before? Did you file tax return?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And how much did you declare as income the year before last?
It's like 55, I think. 55,000, yep.
Okay, so phone bill, I've taken care of the phone bill. You paid it for her, fine. And if you don't want to pay it anymore, let her get an after-school job and pay for her own phone. Now, the next thing that you're suing for is, according to your complaint, you had a car that you weren't using. Mr. Vasquez has a father who wanted a car. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez, without your permission, sold the car, your car, to his father for $700, and you didn't get any of that money.
Correct.
Mr. Vasquez says his father was going to buy the car. He drove it. He didn't want to buy it because it had issues. And it's sitting in his father's driveway waiting for you to come and get it. And that he never got $700 from his father for the car. That's his position, correct?
No, there's a correction. I did get $700 and paid him back the next day because the car broke down within a day.
Because what?
It broke down within a day.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Caption, coming up.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Desiree and Curtis.
Desiree Surratt has accused her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, of selling her car without her permission. Curtis claims he refunded the money, and she can take the car back.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Is the car still titled in your name?
Yes.
So go get it.
I don't want the car, no.
Well, it's your car. It's titled in your name.
Yes, but apparently I have text messages showing he sold the car without my permission.
Whether he did or not, well, he can't sell the car because title never transferred.
Right.
And he's saying you can go and get the car. It's sitting in the driveway. His father doesn't want it. Title didn't transfer. He didn't get money for the car and keep it. It was a sort of silly transaction because what you are suggesting is he should have said to his father, that's it, it was sold, it's sold as is. You can't have your $700 back.
Right, and my understanding is that his dad, through a conversation that I had with his dad did not get the money back.
You can't tell me about the conversation. If you have text messages between them, I would like to see them.
I do, yes.
Desiree hands documents to Kevin.
So there's those text messages. And I also have several text messages where Curtis agrees to pay me the money and also telling me the
This
car
is
ran
Desiree.
phenomenal.
Curtis said you would take possession of the Kia, but I asked about the title. Big Curtis, is that your father?
Your Honor, yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money.
That's correct.
And that it certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, sorry, not good at checking my text. If we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. That's 2 weeks later. Your father didn't say to her, he gave me the money back. He said, I want the title. That's 2 weeks later. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Well, Your Honor, there's one thing that we need to clear up right away is that it was never sold without her knowledge.
Just a second. Now what I'm asking you, sir, I'm saying that your original story to me was that I sold my father the car with her agreement. That's what you say here, for $700. He gave me the $700, but am I correct, Whitney, that the car broke down the next day?
He said the car broke down within a day.
Within a day, and so you gave him his money back. Well, that's not what your father says here, sir. That's not what your father says here.
I went back and forth with him for days, but I gave him his money back.
No, what you told me was a lie. You told me it broke down the day you gave him his money back. The initial conversation she had was May 9th. And then May 16th, she's having a conversation with Big Curtis. That's your father. Mm-hmm. Sorry for not checking my texts. Can you get me the title? Which means 2 weeks later, he wanted the title. And then your father says about you, Curtis owes me big-time money, and I can't get money from him either. That's your father.
Oh, yeah, that's
yes.
correct, Your Honor.
Big Curtis says to her, can you tell me what problem does Curtis have that caused him to spend massive amounts of money in such a short period of time? She answers, drugs, alcohol, gambling, he's a functional addict. He even got around $40,000, and he blew every penny. So the $700 you gave him for the car, I'm just going to file a small claims. For whatever reason, he's refusing to give it to me. It's not your fault that he stole the money from me. Just FYI, I have no issue giving you the title. Okay. So far, he owes you $700 for the car. And then we're finished. Get Big Curtis the title. Mail it to him. He sends you his address.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Now you have a counterclaim, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, Your Honor. I have some evidence I'd like to present.
Don't give me all that nonsense. You say that the plaintiff canceled a vacation trip. You made plane arrangements to take your children somewhere, and she took the children out of state. And car repairs that you gave her money for, car repairs, $250. I helped her repair her car and spent $250 on parts. When was that?
That was the car in question that we were just talking about.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
My parents helped me with the purchase of the kids' tickets.
Why?
Because I couldn't afford all of them.
Who was going on the trip?
It was going to be my wife, myself, and 2 kids.
Did you go on the vacation to Portugal with your wife?
No, we did not make it.
You did not make it?
Correct. Why? Because she is responsible of...
No, not her. Not with your 2 kids. Did you go with your wife?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to go without the kids. It was the whole purpose was to bring the kids to see the grandparents.
Does your wife work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a bartender.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Don't make any more private agreements with him, madam. I think it's a big mistake.
I agree.
We're done. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're
Your Honor.
finished.
Thank you.
I had one more.
I just ruled that your counterclaim is dismissed.
Okay, Your Honor.
You're finished.
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get everything that I felt that I was owed.
Well, a bit disappointed. I felt like I had a lot more coming my way.
Number one, I will not do him any favors.
I've taken care of my kids financially for the last 7 years.
Especially of monetary value.
She feels entitled 6 months, so be it, but I didn't agree to it.
I hope that this is kind of a wake-up call to him.
It's completely ridiculous. I'm just tired of having my name dragged through the mud.
To do honest business, whether it's in personal relationship or business.
I take care of my kids.
He's got a long history of owing money, not paying it back.
Always have, and always will, regardless.
He runs through family and friends and dry your pocketbooks and laugh out the door. He doesn't care.
Claim money for a cell phone that, I bought. And, I think this is all to do with spite.
Just my kids. At the end of the day, whatever's best for them.
I just want to be there for the kids, and I just want to be done with the drama.
Judy and Sarah.
I have very little to say about that case, very little thoughts, except that Big Curtis, the defendant's father, doesn't like him.
I didn't get to read the messages, but
clearly. He said, what is he doing with all the money? My initial reading of that case was, maybe she's being unreasonable. She's really not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's not a lot more to little Curtis than we were able to see today.
I agree.
That his father, Big Curtis, understands.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Televoter hacker. Televote করবে আর easily. মারবে যায় না televoter hacker এ ভাই।
টেলিপোর্ট আছে তুমি চলে যাও আমাদের রিভাইভ দাও তুমি।
চলে যাও তুমি চলে যাও ক্লিক করো ওই।